Hello, my name is Risha Nair from Introduction to Engineering Period B12. I have been assigned a project to gain experience with the design process in creating 3D designs. I was given 3 scenarios to choose from to create a solution with a design I am able to accurately draw in Fusion 360. The scenario I chose was to design a sculpture that represents Magnet High School and what it stands for. When doing the design process, identifying the problem is the first step, as shown here with a bit of background. When I was coming up with the requirements for this design project, I came up with these, labeled in red, the specifications and constraints. Since the design prompt said the design would be outside, it would have to be able to withstand the elements and be unobtrusive so as to not disturb the learning environment, though in the end this wasn't achieved. There should be at least some association with Magnet High School in the design, else there wouldn't be a magnet statue. It should also be school appropriate and safe for students to be around since it is in a learning environment that is supposed to represent Magnet. It should be aesthetically pleasing and easily maintainable. To figure out the approximate dimensions, I did a bit of research shown in the next step. It is also needed the design to be designed in Fusion 360 by a person with my level of limited experience at Fusion, so that I would have a finished project. Moving on in the design process, the first step after identifying the problem is to do research. I began by looking at the Magnet website for the mission statement so that I could find the key traits that Magnet thinks to emulate. Go to ucvts.org and then click on Magnet. My findings? Being self-reliant, have leadership skills, and be responsible. They also have an emphasis on engineering since that's the vocation. It's more STEM learning. I noted this down for later reference for when I brainstorm ideas. Next, I looked at a picture of the space near Magnet to determine the approximate dimensions that are appropriate for the school. I thought that a base of 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet and a height of 5 feet was fair, but spoiler alert, this was not used, though it was a helpful approximate distance to mentally visualize how it would look in my head. After this, I researched some general symbols of progress since that seemed to be what Magnet was about. You can see them on the side here: stairs, book, climbing mountain, gears for engineering, and computer. The next step in the design process is brainstorming. I used the free writing brainstorming method for 3 minutes, and then I compiled these ideas plus some extra ones I thought up, which can be seen here. I picked out some of the recurring elements of each solution and put them into a morph chart, which is found here. In the end, I decided that I would use brass for the material no matter what, because it was the most traditional material to use for statues at school. Since it's traditional, it has been tested against the elements long term and is therefore reliable to use in my design. It probably also doesn't rust as easily, so it'll be aesthetically pleasing, hopefully. In the end, my 3 solutions, from best solution, the next part of the design process, which were used on the morph chart, are found here along with their pros and cons. Out of these, I chose the first solution because it appealed to me the most. It just looked cool in my head. The solution A, was a standing pop-up book with a crow holding fire and popping away from pages. It just looks awesome. And book and crow are the main points, which symbolize intelligence. The torch in the crow's grass references the myth and also serves as a parallel to students bringing light to the world. It has inscriptions of tips and quotes on pages. The tops have grooves that are slightly slanted to help rain flow off for easy maintainability. I chose solution A because it was more aesthetically pleasing and creative than the other solutions. It was mildly complex, and I thought that I would be able to easily design it. It had the best maintainability compared to the other solutions due to any rain at the top naturally flowing off the sides. With solution B and C, rain does not flow off in a set direction to naturally clean the structure. I also chose solution A because the theme is a pop-up book, making it, in theory, much easier to model in Fusion than the complicated nature of a tree statue or a more realistic crow. And I used bronze because multiple statues already used bronze. This was covered earlier. It's a cool idea. Simple enough to model, right? Wrong. Here is my idea. Here is my final product. evidently something was different. So in the next step in the design process, actually drawing or producing a model or a prototype of the design, I did a bunch of improvements. So, unfortunately, when it got down to drawing, I had already wasted enough time procrastinating and also did not have enough skills to create a complete 3D model that included a crow. Thus, I have this book with the symbols of stuff that represent magnets on the pages, but no crow. I didn't have the skills necessary to make a good enough crow in Fusion, not even a small one that could sit on top of the book. Thus, I had to alter the design so that there was no crow at all and instead had symbols on the pages of a book to emulate Magnet High School, as seen here, with the magnets and a compass for the engineering class, the vocation. The solution was also changed quite a bit from the beginning, even besides the glaring absence of a crow. For example, the spine is more pointed than the flat version I had in the preliminary drawings. The statue is also 7 feet tall instead of 5 feet. This is definitely not unobtrusive, as I had specified in the beginning, but I decided that this was a fine change because students should try to stand out as much as they can. Also, it was tall, which gave it the effect of being a room, which I wanted students to experience when they walked up to it. I just wanted to loom over them, you know? In conclusion, if I had more time and experience with Fusion, I probably could have made it better. The design as it is doesn't quite scream magnet, but it does show some symbolism, which I am happy with, as opposed to the straight-up tree of math. If I did this again, I'd probably make the design much simpler, and I would also go with a design that was more useful to students, like a design that could provide shade or had a compartment for collaboration. Like, for example, with the little free libraries, where people put a book in for any book they pick up, and the cycle continues. Next time, I would also stop procrastinating so hard so that I would be able to draw more accurately and have a finished project that didn't seem so rushed. This is my submission to the 3D modeling project. Thank you for listening.